All right, we're going to go ahead and start. Thank you for meeting with me today. My first question for you is how are you able to foster the collaborative team?
Well, since most of our teammates, are pretty new this year, I've been helping out with the ELA piece. A lot of them aren't familiar with the resources that we use or the things that, they aren't, they've never used before. And so basically, I kind of help them with navigating those things, planning out what we're going to be teaching, what teaks we're going to be utilizing, and those type of things for that reading piece.
Okay. So, what professional growth do you think resulted from participation as a collaborative team member?
I would say definitely puts me on my toes. I was more experienced in math and science, and so to be kind of, spearheading what's going on with reading has kind of, been out of my comfort zone. So I would say as a professional, I've kind of grown with understanding my own resources and materials a lot better. To be able, I feel like when you can teach somebody, you are then at the level where you've mastered something.
And that's what we tell the kids all the time.
And so I'm there now, I would say. I'm getting there.
That's great. Okay, so while we were implementing our plan, I collaborated with you to work on ways to improve instruction in the classroom. I gave you some guiding questions to think about and what you have learned, how to use it in the classroom. Did you use these guiding questions that I gave you to prepare for your self-reflection?
Yes, definitely, and trying to understand like where we are right now and then where we're going. They were definitely very helpful.
Okay, so let's go over some of those guiding questions,
Okay.
and I want to see how you prepared for this interview. Okay, so how do you differentiate and individualize instruction to meet specific needs for your students?
So when it comes to assessments like curriculum-based assessments, the CBAs, I would say I've developed appropriate instruction that meets where the students are currently, and so where they can the level they can function at is what I usually aim to instruct them as.
Okay, very good. So, what resources do you use beyond the curriculum and the teacher edition textbook?
Well, with ELA, any book goes. And so definitely try and use, literature that has earned awards so they're seeing some quality pieces. Even newspapers, just so they can keep up with things locally. That helps them a lot. Um, I would say I'm familiar with, and I guide students with technology, especially with everything
Oh,
virtual.
especially right now.
Right.
Mhm.
So internet resources are very fundamental. So most definitely.
Awesome. Okay, so how do you develop differentiated instruction to meet, like the individual needs of all your students?
I would say that mainly with their current education levels, they were out for a very long time. So definitely had to understand where they were currently, as well as far as their academic performance. So just identifying individual learning styles. I would say strengths, needs, aligning instruction to incorporate even background, language, interests. So all of those things are key factors.
And right now, what do you think is like the most challenging aspect of gathering what their needs are? Like where are they at?
I think the hardest part is not necessarily that they have so much growing to do. I would say that it is wanting them to be like at that level already, and so the instruction not aligning with that piece. So it's like we have the instruction that says, hey, they should be doing this, but not having things that actually target, like they want to learn and they're definitely here, and I can see where they will grow, but not having things that are as accessible for their right now levels. Like I would say that would be the most challenging.
And I know right now we're doing the TPRI. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think it's doing a good job at assessing where your students are, what their needs are right now?
I feel it does a good job of assessing their needs, but I feel that it's limited in like concrete things for moving forward. Like it doesn't necessarily identify a reading level. And if it does, like we're still, learning and figuring out reports, so that's another, challenge in itself. But right now, I haven't had any access to specific reading level. But the way that our guided reading systems are set up is by a level, a DRA level, and so not knowing that component, but still being expected to provide guided reading instruction, it's like how. And so trying to make those pieces align with TPRI.
Okay, so what is your plan for learning about students' background, culture, language, and interests?
So I usually go and look at their records. I mean, of course, after talking to the kids, I feel the best way is to get to know them. But definitely checking into their records, seeing evaluation reports, if they have IEPs, just their social welfare. Guidance counselors, do some good provisions of background and stuff like that. And then even their previous academic records, they just kind of tell you what kind of year did they have last year and kind of where are they going now.
Okay, so What educational outcomes have you identified for the students in your class?
Well, I would say, as far as what I want from them, of course, we want them all to grow in a grade level, you know? And so I formulate pretty differentiated instructional outcomes for them based on their individual performance, where they are right now. And so just also, kind of aligning that with their identified learner needs is definitely beneficial for them too.
Okay, thank you. So, what additional professional development do you participate in to enhance your instructional program?
Right now, a lot for reading. So, just there are in-service days. There's online seminars right now. Being part of the Reading Academy, that is, a requirement. But I also feel that it's a really big component for what I do with ELA, and so having that, utilizing professional education journals, and then attending educational conferences. So whenever there's opportunities, I try and make it a point to go.
Okay, so how do you use different learning modalities to encourage concurrent instruction and student achievement?
I would say just collaborating with the students to use different, like multiple modalities, and then also trying to invest in, making sure that there are higher level thinking skills going on and things that challenge them and also push them, in a rigorous manner. And so just trying to create, some coherent, differentiated instruction for them.
Okay, so how do you ensure that your assessments are aligned to standards, instructional outcomes, goals, and objectives?
You know what we always say, data. So just collecting assessment data, making sure it's linked to the students' goals and kind of where we want them to be at the end of the year. So aligning my instruction with that.
What did you learn from this interview? How would you use this information the next time you engage in a similar collaborative team?
I think this is helpful in understanding what we are doing and is it helping everyone else too, and so kind of coming together to get that piece to make sure we know, like, hey, is this benefiting you, what we're doing with these reading academies, or, are these things that you see that are applied in the classroom? So I think that, having that information from everybody as a team kind of tells us how to move forward.
So how has this experience resulted in potential positive change in student learning and the campus culture?
I would say it definitely, with everybody being new, I would say it definitely brings us together. Like, it helps us to all be on the same foot. And when we go into the classroom, although we have different kids, it helps us to all go in with the same intentions. So if the goal is, successful CBAs, successful assessments, or things of that nature, if we all align our instruction and we're all meeting to ensure that instruction is aligned, like, we have no choice but for our kids to succeed.
I know we had a lot of problems, a lot of teachers being out, a lot of teachers being absent. What do you think was one of the biggest barriers that we faced as a team to accomplish our plan and our goals?
I would say the biggest thing is, of course, kids not having all of kindergarten. And so with them not being where they are, I feel like with team members missing, stuff comes up, and that we can't control. But the larger aspect of kids, being at home, not being in a classroom setting for a very long time, trying to still implement some type of norms for the kids that are with you, the kids that are virtual. Like, it's two very different teaching styles, but we are trying to, bridge them together. And so I would say that has been the biggest challenge.
So throughout this experience, do you think that you have made any mistakes? Would you do anything differently, and why?
I would say just in reflecting on areas where I could grow. That's a tough one. Because, you learn as you go. I feel like mistakes kind of make you. I would say I would have had more time to plan. I feel like had we known more before we got in here, I would have had more things together. So I do feel like that part, that's one regret that I have, that over the summer when we didn't know, I know it was so up in the air, but still probably, using that time to start kind of navigating some things out and making sure we were ready for whatever was to come. I would have prepared a bit better. I definitely would have.
And then what about the professional development and our PLCs? Do you think that there needed to be any change to that?
For ELA, yes.
Okay.
Definitely with the PLCs, we needed more time to complete what's expected of us for the Reading Academy. And then even just more scaffolded instruction with how we were approaching TEKS. And so I feel like our administrative team is on board with that. Our specialist team is now on board with that. So that, definitely, I feel like, it's coming together. It's all a learning process and it's coming together.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Roy, for your time and for
welcome.
working with me through this
Yeah,
process.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and let you get back to work. We know
Okay.
you have limited time. Bye bye.
Alrighty.